I'm going to start, Darren Eels, with you because you recently shared an update about your health. So, firstly, we want to ask is, how are you? How are you doing?
Doing great, thanks. It was incredible the support I got from the football family and the fans. So I just want to say a big thank you. I'm doing good at the moment and trying to take the positives.
And there's also it was also announced at the time that you're going to be stepping down from your role as CEO at Newcastle United, and a replacement will come in. Do you have a time frame for that change that you can share with us?
No, I mean, I think I mentioned at the time, I've got sort of a notice period. So the intention is it's business as usual. And the idea was to give that notice so that we can do a search that's going to be led by ownership to find that candidate and then try and give them the best runway so that they can hit the ground running. So business as usual, but we're looking to try and do that transition to get the best person possible.
On a more general theme, with you and your time at Newcastle over the last couple of years, this is quite broad, but how proud are you of the progress the club has made and continues to make since you arrived?
Yeah, I mean, I think look, it's nothing to do with me. I think it's just an amazing football club. And if you think of the last 3 years, I mean, on the pitch, we had first five for 24 years. We've had that Champions League, for 20 years. That game against Paris Saint-Germain was just incredible. And it's a real shame that you see how the format is this year and think, oh, crumbs. We got that proof of death and we're really unfortunate in that respect. This season, I think, it's exciting. We're in the quarterfinals with a home tie against Brentford. We're 1 point off them. It's crazy in the Premier League this year with that cluster of clubs. So, it's been really good on the pitch. And then think about some things off the pitch. And, we know we need to do that growth off the pitch to get where we want to get to. And if you look at our revenues, so, don't get too technical, but CAGR, which is compound annual growth rate for the 3 years of the takeover is over 30%, which, to put it in some sort of context, the leading Premier League club since PSR was in average about 7%. So that is incredible growth. And that's because, as we all know here, it's a fantastic football club, and we're trying to put the processes in place to give us that growth. But I think something like this stat, which was a fan-led initiative trying to do something that we knew our supporters would love, I think has been really successful. The women's team's been incredible, seeing them get the back-to-back promotions, and they're in the thick of it now in the Championship for that chance to get the Super League. So I think there's lots of things that have gone on, but I think it's just speaks to what a wonderful club this is, and our job, all of us here, is to try and give the club the best chance we can, and every with the team on the pitch to get where we want to get to, and hopefully get that trophy we all love.
I'm sure I've heard a groan that said PSR, and we have questions about that. We'll come back to you shortly, Darren. Thank you for the moment. Peter Silverstone, I think we've heard from you a number of times since you joined the club, but could we just start with you tonight just by outlining the role that you do and what your responsibilities are at Newcastle United?
Yeah, well, thank you to everyone for coming out on call and for coming to a fantastic start. So my role is the Chief Commercial Officer, which on paper is to generate revenue. But revenue comes by growing and developing our engagement, our relevance both locally and globally. So I'm tasked with the venue team, which maximises the revenue from the venue, including staff, a brand marketing and digital media team, which grows our brand presence, our marketing and digital capabilities to be able to reach and engage with fans both here in Newcastle and globally, because our growth will come globally. I'll come back to that. A partnerships team to bring in sponsorships and partnerships to deliver revenue and brand activation. And then as we've just grown, and I can see a lot of people wearing some great Adidas product tonight, the retail and licensing team, which obviously is rebuilding our retail business and delivering revenue that way. So that's the essence of my role in the departments within my team.
And I asked Darren a few months ago about how the club has grown in his time there. What are the changes that you've been able to implement and the development that you've seen in Newcastle since you came in to your role? Because there has been a heck of a lot of change.
Yeah, I mean, Well, to go away from the results, the changes, as you say, Matthew, require a lot of support and investment. I've had great support from my colleagues here, but ultimately from the ownership group who believed in what we proposed to do, which is ultimately chase that relentless growth that we need to catch up and then hopefully surpass teams close to us. That's meant a lot of investment in people, so the amount of staff and people that are focused on driving commercial revenues increased considerably. And then there's infrastructure, which that goes to our website and our app, but also invested in stack and hospitality areas, the app, etc. So we've really invested in those areas. And then, of course, we've tried to see the results of that through partnerships and revenue. We've brought on 12 new partners since 22-23. We've grown the commercial business 110%. We've grown the partnership business 100%. We're really focused on delivering that revenue, but also that revenue requires, as I say, to keep growing because none of our competitors are stopping. So the clubs that you may say are above us are not stopping growing. As Darren said, we just need to grow quicker. So we're trying to build relationships outside of Newcastle. We're traveling to Japan, we're traveling to Saudi, we're traveling to the US. We're engaging on social media to try and catch up again with those clubs. So the revenue and the commercial success comes from both the direct actions and then the indirect brand benefits that we're seeing.
Got more questions for you shortly, Peter. We'll come on to Brad Miller, who's to your left. Brad, what does your job at Newcastle United entail?
Well, just to echo Peter's sentiment, fantastic to see so many people here tonight. Thank you very much. I'm not as brave as you, or indeed Darren. I'm still acclimatising, you can probably tell. So my role, three main elements, is supporting all of these guys and their teams and all of the colleagues within the club, making sure we're operating very safely and very securely first and foremost. So that's sort of day to day. And then the other two really big elements, obviously the stadium investment and the transformation that we're looking to do there. And then also similarly with our training ground and our academy and what are our future plans for those two assets.
And Simon Kappa sitting alongside you. Thank you very much for being here. Same question to you, really. Can you just tell us about the work that you do at Newcastle United, please?
Yeah, I guess this is one of the questions that lots of people ask: what does the bean counter do? And what I do is I'm actually very lucky because I work across the whole business with all the people on stage and all of the other several hundred staff that Newcastle now have, building the business plans, building the forecasts. I mean, you touched on PSR, but everything we do has to be factored into our compliance. If we're talking about signing players, or doing something with the squad, and we're talking about building assets or driving commercial revenue, that all has a financial aspect and that all impacts on our compliance. So great forecasting, great understanding of the economics of both the football industry and the club absolutely underpins everything we do. If you don't see what's going to come in the next few months, then we're going to have a nasty surprise. And this is not an industry you can turn your business quickly. You have to have a plan to stick to for a season, and it needs to be designed to work with financial performance and with the on-pitch performance, which can obviously make differences to your revenue and your earnings. So it's all about understanding the business and helping grow that business strategically, and working with my colleagues here who will potentially come up with brilliant ideas, and we then make sure that they make the money that we all need them to support the best team moving forward.
And Paul Mitchell, welcome. You've been at Newcastle United for about 5 months now, nearly 5 months?
Yeah, mid-July.
Yeah. How would you say you've settled in to your new role at the club?
Yeah, it's been an interesting start. I think I'll have to be honest with that one. Probably learnings from me is don't come into a transfer window that's already ongoing. It's a very difficult thing to acclimatise to because you come into a pre-designed plan and plans that have been built from the January window into the summer. I think this year in general we've all seen as football fanatics and fans that the landscape in football has changed. I think we all have our opinion for the better or for the worse. I think unfortunately PSR has entered our lives as well, making life delicate, complicated for football, but I think for us in particular. and looking forward to now navigating a strategic plan that we can continue progressing the club, continue building performance on the pitch, what is crucial, but also off it as well through the women's and the men's games as well. And I think a big part of my role is making these guys on stage's lives a living nightmare to ascertain as much cash as we can in as clever and strategic ways to invest in the first team, the women's and the academy moving forward.
Well, you touched on it there, the timing of your arrival, so I might as well follow up by asking you just how tough the summer was. Like you say, mid-transfer window, this climate of PSR and the Premier League's financial rules that affect all clubs, but we know the challenges Newcastle United have been facing and continue to face. Yeah, it was really tough, wasn't it, just before you arrived and then subsequently up to deadline day?
Yeah, a lot of people won't believe I'm actually 21. I looked a lot better pre-July than I did post-September. No, I think like I said, I think it's a complex landscape now in the world of football, and definitely from ourselves. I probably underestimated that coming in. I would like to say though, Darren, Eddie, and the team in June, what was a very difficult situation the club was in, has allowed us the platform this season to not have a points reduction, make brave decisions and tough decisions as well for the benefit of the club. I think that is our responsibility as custodians of this great club, and did a tremendous job. Unfortunately, we lost two very talented young men, but it has put us in a position where we can continue growing and continue having success on the pitch. But I can't echo enough the words of what a great job was done in June to make sure we was financially sound and also performance sound as well.
And Darren Hills, as Cornish was just mentioned there, you probably don't want to relive the events of the last few days of June, but difficult decisions had to be taken in order to protect the football club, didn't they? And hopefully you can benefit from that in the years and in the transfer windows to come in this PSR world.
Yeah, no, we hate the word PSR, but it's what we have to work to, and I think it's obviously impacted us as a club perhaps more than some other clubs. And I think in short, and I think a lot of the fans out there know that, but we've got two ways for us to be able to grow that ability to spend. You can grow the revenues, and there's two ways to do that: commercially pizza or through trading players. And then secondly, it's about how you efficiently spend resources played. And that's the thing that it's unforgiving for us, because we're walking that tightrope and trying to get there as quick as we can. We've got an ownership that will commit, very fortunate, the maximum available under the PSR regulations. It's about how you allocate that, how you spend that, and can't always do it in one window. And sometimes we have ebbs and flows because of the nature of the year cycle.
And Eddie Howard has been mentioned a few times. Tell us about the backing that he continues to get from you as an executive team, and also from the club's owners, because we all admire the wonderful job that he's done and continues to do. And he's such a central, critical part of the success of Newcastle United, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it speaks for itself, the work that Eddie's done since he's come in. I think you see it on the pitch with the results, from going from the relegation spot to Champions League, carrying on into this season where I think we've done a really good job already of competing in all the cup competitions, taking them seriously. I think it's the first time ever that we've had 3 consecutive quarterfinals in the League Cup. So Eddie's done an amazing job on the pitch, and he's done that against the backdrop of PSR. But what I think I really love about Eddie is that he gets the club, so he gets that connection, he gets that importance of what this club means to the city and the community. And he's also collaborative. He's not a manager that thinks just short term. So he does think about the club, he cares about the club, and he understands that sometimes you'll make those tough decisions. He's always doing that with the lens of we want the best for the football club. So Eddie's done a great job, and we've seen it. I mean, having 3 players in the national team, 2 full backs with Tino and Lewis Hall, that you can see how Eddie developed those players. That's what we've got to do in the future. We've got to continue to develop players, because that's how we're going to get where we want to get to as quick as possible.
Back to Peter Silverstone. I mentioned you're wearing the Adidas Originals, very popular, and you can see many of the supporters with us tonight here at St James's Stack are in them as well. The Adidas deal was incredibly well received when it was announced through the Amazon documentary. I think that's how we discovered it. Can you talk to us about the success of bringing Adidas back to Newcastle United? I think we can see it, but commercially, as well as just what it means, that heritage link with Adidas that means so much to Newcastle United and the fans.
Yeah, I'm smiling, Matthew, because you just reminded me how we released it during the Amazon documentary, and unfortunately it got released a little bit earlier, which was I was on a plane at the time, and I saw it on Twitter and was shocked. And yeah, we used the platform of the documentary to announce obviously a major deal for the club, not only because it's the kit deal, which is very close to, it's what the players wear on their hearts and on their sleeves when we're on the pitch. It's what the fans wear in the crowd, but also it represents the brand. And for Newcastle, Adidas, it represents so much more. It's the history and heritage. It's all the goals of Alan Shearer. It's the great memories of Bobby Robson. It's a part of the family. So it was a great deal and a great partnership in that perspective. But it was also just, I feel, the relaunch of our brand activity. Everyone remembers the launch video, which was incredible, and there's the away video where we've got some of the stars here tonight. Again, it's that brand that's tapping into us and the heart and soul of us, and then projecting that globally. That is the job that we've got. We've got to project everything we do globally. Darren talked about Eddie and the players and the way they play and the style of play, St James's Park. That is projected globally whenever we play. So the incredible atmosphere, which is continuously voted the best atmosphere in the Premier League. Fans around the world are seeing that, they want bits of that. But we also need our partners to do that. So if you think of what Adidas does for us, that's incredible. If you think of what Sella have done for Newcastle, Sella have won for the Unsounds, the crowd partnership activation. They've won 15 global awards for Newcastle United and Sella, which I guess fans might not see because we don't shout about it, but people are recognising the work we're doing to again grow our global relevance. We've got Red Bull one, we've got all these partners coming on board. But then back to the retail, Adidas also allowed us to bring back in-house our retail business, which required a huge amount of support from our ownership to again invest in the new store, which we see up at St James's Park. Thank you for everyone's patience and for Brad and his team's incredible support to build that best-in-class store, which has been a 7-figure investment. We're opening another store next week in the Metro Centre, so again, that's another development. We've had the temporary store, a new e-commerce platform. We've opened in Phoenix, so we're continuously trying to grow. And I think that's a bit of the message. Paul was joking, but it's serious. Is that it doesn't stop. It's relentless. You're always looking forwards. You don't look at what you've done in the past, because football doesn't look back. It only looks about, in Paul's world, the next transfer window or the next probably 3 transfer windows. So we're always looking to grow, and that's another example of a deal that's just about continued growth. When you look at this product that I'm wearing, and I can see lots of people wearing today, it's sold out in a weekend. So now we need to think about what's the next product, and then what's the right product for this fan base in this community. So we're working hard.
Come back to you in a second, Peter, but I think we should bring Brad Miller in as well, because part of the growth of the club and linking to growing the revenue streams is this place, isn't it? St James's Stack, which opened in August ahead of the new season. So Peter and having Brad first, talk to us about how this place has been part of your work and your team and what impact it actually has. This brilliant entertainment venue just next to the garage at the end of St James's Park.
Yeah, I had the privilege of joining the club when this was actually on site, so it didn't look anything like this. There was a lot more mess down where we were sitting at the moment. And it was a baptism of fire, but brilliant way to get to know a lot of people in the club and a lot of people within the city. We have so many big to thank for actually making this a reality and delivering it when they did, and the continued success of Stack, and not least our ownership. Darren's referenced them already, but them getting behind the club, and this is just a small taste of their ambition and what they're prepared to do and what they want for the club longer term. So it's a brilliant asset. Hopefully, will continue to be so long into the future.
And Peter, obviously, you know, and you previously worked at Arsenal, haven't you? You go around the Premier League as you all will do, and most other clubs have a fan zone or a fan area next to the stadium. This is a venue that's in use all throughout the week, not just on match days, but it feels now really very much part of the Newcastle United experience, whether it's an away game, which many of them when they're live on TV, in fact all of them are now on TV, are broadcast here, but on a match day in the build to kick off and after the game, it's a place for fans to come. It's now part of Newcastle United and it's a revenue stream.
Yeah, it's I call it like the only nightclub I'd like to go to because I'm too old for nightclubs now. But when you come here, it's and obviously I'd like to count myself as an adopted Geordie. It's so Geordie. It's all generations. No one caring about what anyone's wearing, what anyone's doing, but everyone just wanting to have fun, especially on a match day, but actually on a non-match day as well. It's it epitomises the spirit and the desire to have a good time. So when you come here for crowd karaoke or for a match, you're going to have a good time. And it's also a wry smile, as I'm sure all of us do. That effectively, we're drinking away our PSR troubles because every time someone buys a drink, it's going in Paul's transfer kitty. So if that's not incentive to get on the right drink, it truly is. It's, yeah, we can look at it as a commercial success, but I think we can look at it as a city success. I personally, we all love being here. It's a great place to come, and it just so happens that it's right next to the best stadium in the world, and it's right next to the football club.
Simon, infrastructure spending, can you talk to us about that in terms of the PSR calculations? Because I think that is outside of it, isn't it? We're all pretty well versed in PSR or FFP as it was, but there is a lot of investment in the club in those other areas, and that's outside of that, isn't it? To an extent.
There's a really, really complicated answer to this. And there's yes, it's mostly outside. The rules are sort of changing, and without getting into detail, that they're mostly revenue driven now, or they'll be revenue driven in the future with the Premier League. And so everything you can do to grow the club's revenue, like the stack, does feed back to what we can spend on the team. So it literally does become a game where a percentage of every penny we turn over is available to the team in a regulatory way to spend. So every point helps this man for the next transfer window. And yeah, I mean, I think this is this particular example is something we're very proud of. But this is a small example of the type of things we're looking at across the business in terms of investing capital from the owners to generate more revenue for the club moving forward. And I think we've got some exciting, pipeline of ideas. A lot of them are not quite ready to share at this point, but they are bubbling under, and hopefully, the next few months we'll be revealing a bit more about how we want to grow the revenue by investing an awful lot of money in Newcastle and in this football club.
We are going to go on to the stadium soon. I know that is a hot topic, and we had lots of questions about that. So that is coming. I'm going to go back to Paul Mitchell now. Paul, you're only the second sporting director that Newcastle United's ever had. It was a role that didn't exist prior to the takeover and to Dan Ashworth's arrival. So you obviously came into a club that was a lot healthier than it had been in the years previously. Can you give us a perspective of when you came in, what you feel the club was doing well, and also the areas that you identified that you can change and improve?
I'm just first trying to work out whether it's appropriate to come in and have a few pints every day to support PSR for January. And so trying to work out in that is one of my big roles, I'm the KP, so I'll put something on social media. Please feel free to join on the Tuesday afternoon. I think I was fortunate to a degree. I think a lot of good work had already been undertaken through Dan, through Eddie, through the team at Darsley Park, Becky and Sue, and also Steve in the academy. So I think that the platform that we've inherited, as you said, there's been large growth in more or less every area of performance. But I think the message that I gave the players and the staff on entering the building is now it's about going from good to great. We have super high ambitions. We have super high ambitions in terms of ownership, super high ambitions in terms of the directorship. We have a super ambitious coach, and I think as fans, these fans in particular, deserve success, and that is got to be the primary objective. So we have to move forward. We have to be aggressive. I love the style of play. I think it mirrors us as a club and our fan base and what we expect. And we have to do that off the pitch now as well. We have to grow each department, each area of performance, and we have to keep pushing forward. And it's my job, in collaboration with Eddie, to do that, is to work as hard as we can for as long as we can in an intelligent way, to progress and become competitive at the top end of the Premier League where we want to be, and get ourselves back to Europe as well and start enjoying the European nights here in this fantastic stadium.
And how closely and how regularly do you work with Eddie Howe?
Yeah, well, I was enjoying the Eddie and Paul watch in the September, day one of the Eddie and Paul watch. Have they spoken to each other? I actually thought that was quite good commentary. I'm not a big social media fan. I'm not a big media fan in general. But we work closely. It's a natural collaboration. He's the head coach and manager, and I'm the sporting director. But this notion that we live in each other's pockets, we spend every waking hour in each other's company, is wrong. Eddie is an elite professional, and it would be remiss of me or any sporting director to be looking over his shoulder, to being on the training pitch, to micromanaging someone that is extremely talented in what he does. My job is to support, is to collaborate, to support, challenge, discuss, debate, all for the benefit of the football club. But we have a very talented head coach, manager, and our collaboration is as frequent or infrequent as it needs to be. I'm fortunate to be done this a long time with some really good and talented head coaches as well, and Eddie definitely falls into that bracket. But I have other responsibilities as well. My job is short, medium and long term. I have to also support Steve in the academy, growing our next wave of talent to affect the first team, as Darren said. Also looking at growing and developing players to enhance our revenue streams as well, because trading model is an important element of the modern game. And also support Sue and Becky in the growth of the women's game and continue on our upward trajectory. So unfortunately, as the myth of the media would like, I can't hold hands with Eddie every day as much as I would like to. We had the luxury of doing that at the boxing in Saudi Arabia recently, what was very nice, and we had a great time with all the guys. But I have other responsibilities as well that also for me are equally important.
I feel like you wanted to clear that up for a while. And be able to allay some of the fears of the supporters have. So you get on well with Eddie Howe, and that's it's music to our ears. So
I think convincing him into the Tuesday afternoon beer drinking will be a task, but I'll work my hardest, I promise.
let's move on to the stadium issues and the future of St James's Park and where Newcastle United play their home matches. We're in the shadow of St James's Park here at St James's Stack, and Darren, I think it was well over a year ago now that you revealed that there was a stadium feasibility study underway. Can you update us on the progress of that? What your findings are, as much as you can share, and then what happens next, because it's such a hugely important body of work.
Yeah, let me start that and I'll let Brad sort of pick up afterwards. But I think, as everyone knows, we wanted to do a stadium feasibility to see what the art of the possible was. I remember coming in, and we all do, we're all architects, we all think we've got an idea of what you can do with St James's Park, but we needed to actually hire the professionals. So we're going to look firstly at what was the art of the possible, secondly, if you could do that, what would it cost me, and thirdly, to understand the supporters, the demand, because again, we want to build something that we only get one opportunity, so we've got to make sure we get this right. It's once in a generational opportunity for us, so we've got to be really clear about that. So we did that first initial stage, and the reality is we've now got to do more work because it raised some issues. I think Brad, it'd be useful to hand over to you in terms of what we're looking to do next steps.
Thank you. Before I add to the answer, just to give you all a bit of comfort, maybe, certainly forefront of my mind, it feels like an absolute privilege to be able to be involved in such a massive project. It's going to mean so much to so many people, but also to a city and a region. It feels like it's bigger than the club even. So I feel the weight of that responsibility, but I'm not hindered by it. I'm really excited by it. It is a once in a generation opportunity. And so everything that we're doing in terms of, do we invest and transform St James's as we sit today on the site where we are, or do we take that bold move and think about moving? We want to make sure we're going through a very robust process. So regardless of the outcome, we want to be able to stand. We want to be able to stand in front of everybody and take everybody through the process and say this is why it's a logical decision. And it's with the long-term competitiveness of the club in mind, because as you've heard a lot, it's all about revenue growth because of PSR. We work very closely with Simon to make sure we're going to be continuing to contribute to that so we can release as much money to Paul and the football inside in order to remain competitive and become even more competitive on the field. And so in terms of next steps, we are coming towards the end of this stage. It's the briefing stage. The art of the possible sort of over the summer showed us that there are a lot of risks and opportunities in investment in St James's. So we've taken the time to really dig into those to make sure that we've got the devil in the detail in terms of cost, in terms of the programme, how long it's going to take, what will it do for us in terms of uplifting revenue. And I'll be honest, we've also taken the opportunity to look at what would a new stadium look like. And we're not comparing apples with apples. It's not like for like, they are apples with pears. The brilliant thing about St James's is the iconic status, the atmosphere that it creates, the competitive edge that it gives the football team on the pitch, particularly when others come to play here. And it's got 52,000 seats already, but a new stadium doesn't have that. We'd have to pay for all those seats again, capex-wise. But the new stadium has the potential to earn a lot more revenue, both on match days, also for non-match day events. And so a bit like Stack is giving us an indication of actually we can contribute even more to the football club and to the football side if we looked at the new stadium. So I don't know how you're all feeling and whether Paul sort of warmed you up. And normally when I get asked about the stadium, I can't share exactly what we're doing. There's a lot of stakeholder engagement we have to go through, but can I dare to ask, are you up for a little bit of audience participation? Yes or no? Yeah? Okay, so I won't hold you to any of this, and it's not going to go into the planning application or anything like that, and it's not going to go into the wallpaper, so it is a little bit fun. We'll go with, don't put your hands up yet, but sort of the first choice is, if we were to start St James's, we have the 52,000 seats already. It earns significantly more money if we transform it, and it will look amazing. So that's option one. Option two is if we were to move and it wouldn't be that far away, we're not looking to stretch the elastic band and the connection to the city to the point of breaking. So some people have suggested Murrayfield, but we're not going to be doing that. So look at me now. They came up today. Terrible idea. Right, so that's the second option. But the second option, seriously, we are looking at it seriously because it does have the potential to earn almost twice as much in terms of incremental revenue over and above what Transform St James's can do. So option one,
I think that's second one, more seats as well.
More seats, good grief, yeah, more seats. Yeah, won't be charging loads more money for everybody. There's a lot more seats potentially in the new stadium. So option one, hands up. Option one, who would go for option one? You have to go for option one. Hands up. Wow. Option two. Oh, wow. That is. We were just discussing. Sorry, we were just discussing this today with some key stakeholders in the city. As you may have contributed to, there was a survey done last year, almost this time last year. At that point in time, 71% of everybody that responded said stay at St James's. Only 29% were open to the idea of potentially moving. And I think it's credit to everybody that everybody's willing to be open-minded because everybody now understands the impact of PSR.
And I know that was just a little bit of fun, and it's really good to see what you think in the room and also online as well. And then you can answer this, maybe Darren first. How important will fan and public opinion be when it comes to deciding the next steps? Because fan engagement is why we're here, and you do want to listen to supporters as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely imperative. Obviously, we gave that sort of promise when we started the process. You guys were introduced to the fan advisory board. We're really excited to have them on board as someone that we can have initially to sound on board. But the whole point of doing this is it's right for the club, it's right for support. It's intrinsically linked together, so we're not going to the fans don't want. But I think it is interesting as we've gone through the process. I think, it's open-minded. I think now what we've got to do is develop the options and then Cap's opinion when we have something for you and get that feedback and take that into account.
And support from the club's ownership as well. Whatever you decide to do, you're obviously doing this with their backing, because the money has to come from somewhere as well as what you can generate as a club, so they are behind whatever decision is made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the ownership have been incredible. I think you saw today another 35 million capital injection, so that's taken the amount of money after the takeover to over 300 million. So, they're behind us, but again, we've got to make the right decisions. We've got to flesh out the options, talk to the supporters, present the case. We've got to make a business case. It has to make sense for what we're trying to do with Newcastle United. But if we can achieve that, and we can show that we've seen that we have that support from ownership.
We have a few more topics to cover. We are rapidly running out of time. I knew this was going to happen. I'm sure you did as well, because there were so many questions that came in and so many subjects that we wanted to discuss. But we'll get through a few more before we get our next guests on the stage, the women's team and some Newcastle United heroes who are going to join us very soon. I'm going to go back to Paul Mitchell now. I don't know if it's well known, but you were a professional player, weren't you, before you made your move into recruitment and then becoming an executive? Can you tell us just a bit more about your background, please? We'd like to learn more about you.
I think professional is a loose term when it comes to my playing career. I think short and sweet on the playing career. I played for Wigan, obviously made my debut there at 17. Unfortunately, but many fans that watch me play will say, fortunately, I retired early at 23 and put everyone out of their misery. I think a lot of tickets and people that acquired tickets during that time, I spent the money back. And that propelled me into what I currently do today. I started at MK Dons, quickly grew to kind of run all sporting department at Milton Keynes. Then was recruited to Southampton in the Championship. We managed to get promoted that season, and I went on to kind of form very strong recruitment strategy and head up the recruitment plan there, signing players like Sadio Mane, Dusan Tadic, Toby Alderweireld. We was the first team kind of to sell very largely in large quantities that many people would affect performance, but actually traded well and have recruited well at the same time and built better teams through player trading models. That took me to Tottenham. Behind Mauricio Pochettino, he went in the summer, I went in the winter. We went on to build a team that, unfortunately, the gentleman to my right doesn't let me ever hear the end of, nearly win the Premier League. When Simon won the Premier League with Leicester. I will caveat that we played on all fronts, including Europe that year, and I think you only played in the Premier League, so not sure it was a fair event, but we nearly ascertained the Premier League, what would have been an incredible milestone for the club, and then was part of the squad build that got the team to the Champions League final. Then very fortunate to move to Germany with Red Bull Leipzig. Not a lot of people knew much about Red Bull at the time. I think people were scratching their heads wondering how a fizzy drink was going to really progress in the world of football, but we managed to do it, building young dynamic squads that played in a philosophy very similar to Eddie's actually, very aligned, very vertical, very aggressive, very open at them, in your face, got the crowd on the feet type of style, and that transformed my role there into overseeing a global Red Bull galaxy, working across Germany, Austria, New York and Brazil. And then I was recruited to Monaco. Unfortunately, between 18 and 20, they misspent their recruitment fund quite badly, 350 million not terribly well, and my job was to rebuild the whole organisation from top to bottom across all the sporting sector and create a player pathway for the academy, and obviously a trading or performance model, and bring the club back to European football and Champions League. That fortunately it went well, and we managed to complete those tasks, and that brings me back to the north. As you can hear, my accent is a little bit down the road, but it's more northern than most, and it's great to be back on English soil and back home.
Simon, do you want to respond to that? That's fine. So that's the club you used to work for. You used to work for Leicester City, Simon. You might want to respond.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that Spurs did finish third that year. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you just see little threads.
well, they were a great competition, and actually, actually support. You know, the view of that's how you build football. That's the experience we have, and I think we have a very shared vision of how you deliver that within, how you deliver success of this great football club by maximising what you can do, what you have.
Peter Silverstone, we've had a few questions about ticketing, as you might imagine, also about the new Newcastle United website and the app as well. Two things that you launched recently. Obviously, spaces are monetized because there's advertising on them. Commercially, how much growth do you find comes through there, and how much is that just a sign of the progress the club makes, that's now part of your offering?
Yeah, I think there's definitely ticketing is a topic of its own. So website and app is about building the platforms that allows you as fans here and abroad to engage with the club and engage with all of the content, and that builds a platform to stream content, promote membership, and promote the club retail, etc. So it's having the infrastructure in place, again, with the right support and investment from ownership to ensure that as we grow, which we will do, and as we become more successful, which we will do, that we can capitalise on that increased growth. I think, you know, if you look at Spurs, which has a social media following of over 100 million, and you look where we are, we know we've got a lot to grow. But once we get there, which we will do, we need to have the infrastructure and the digital infrastructure to benefit from that. Then on to ticketing.
Ticketing, yeah. Just there's lots of questions about ticketing in general, changes you've made, listening to fan feedback, and how the changes you've implemented are working.
Yeah, so obviously ticketing is normally a discussion or a debate, because when you're a club like we are with more demand for tickets than you have supply, no one or not everyone can be happy. So we've taken on a lot of feedback from the fan advisory board and from general consultation as to how we can sort of maximise the opportunities for everyone, and how we can be as fair and transparent and consistent for everyone. We do recognise, and I think the fan advisory board would recognise or admit that there's no correct answer, because one answer always will leave another disappointed. But we're trying our best to listen, take feedback, and adapt. I think that we've done that with some of the away ticketing measures this year, allowing fans to transfer tickets, listening to feedback on the check-in process, and taking on board and then delivering that back in further consultations. And again, trying to maximise the fairness of fans from a home perspective, getting tickets in the ballots to ensure that as many fans who want to attend can. But I appreciate, and we all know that it's difficult because demand far exceeds supply. As we continue to get better and better, that's why we're having conversations like today about how can we maximise the size of St James's Park and also the revenue viability on.
Darren, I don't know if you want to come in on ticketing. Obviously, there have been changes, but it's always difficult, whatever decision you take, whatever department of the club it is, to please everybody all of the time, isn't it? That you make these decisions for the right outcomes.
Yeah, and I think, look, I think what I hope is that there's an understanding that where we're making a decision on ticketing, we want to talk to the fans. That's why events like this are important for us to give information, but also the workshops we do, the surveys we do, working with the fan advisory board. Because ultimately, let's just take away ticketing as a great example. I'll speak personally. I've got no skin in the game which system you use. I'm trying to use the best system that is equitable for as many people as possible. So, we'll try something, but if we get the feedback and there's a consensus, then it's better another way, we'll change that because the easiest thing would be to do nothing. But that's what we're trying to do. I think in all of these areas, it's about listening and then trying to respond in the best way possible.
Yeah, just to add to that, on home ticketing, we listened to the feedback, which was fans wanted a proportion of tickets to be first come, first served. So again, we adapted what we had the season before. And there's no, to Darren's point, we don't have skin in the game, there's no revenue benefit to that. It's about giving the fans, or trying to give each fan what they want and listening to the different groups.
Last couple of minutes with members of the executive team on stage before we move on. Like I say, we could be here all night. We really thank you very much for giving us your time. Paul Mitchell, finally. I think you've answered the tricky questions. You brought it up yourself. How well do you get on with anyhow, which did come up quite a few times. But there are points just about recruitment, and I know you touched on it, so maybe expanding on those points. And you mentioned your background as well in recruitment earlier in your career off the pitch. How much of your role at Newcastle United is centred on recruitment, whether it's making the big decisions or working with the manager and the scouting and the analysts that you have to identify and then secure new players and talent?
Yeah, it's contrary to common belief. I don't make the final decision on player trading, and that's no sporting director does. Just to put that out there, it's a collaborative approach. There's a psychology to it as well, that when you as a human being you want something and it's provided, you ultimately work harder to make that desire successful. And it's the same in player trading. We have a very stringent process. We go through many quality control checks. We do as much due diligence as we possibly can to align with our playing style, our playing principles, and there's a lot of people within that process making informed decisions, evident, subjective and objective decisions to bring to mine and Eddie's eyes and understanding and intelligence and experience to collaborate in making the final decision that is not only to enhance the first team, to win football matches, but it's also to continue the positive journey we're on with the football club. Whether it's myself or Eddie, that's one thing that we both strongly align on, is making the hard choices, maybe in the short term that people don't see, to make sure this club keeps growing in the long term. So every sporting director and head coach or manager, they collaborate in the final decision on player trading, and it's a key driver in our success. It's a key driver in every team's success. We have to get a high percentage right and make good decisions for the short, medium and long term, and that's what we intend to do moving forward.
Well, I think we're just about there. We've overrun slightly, but we really thank you all very much for your time. Darren Neal's finally, I'm going to give you the final words and closing comments. As you mentioned a few minutes ago about fan engagement, communication, the fan advisory board is such an important part of Newcastle United now. All of us in this room, myself included, I know we're all relatively new to Newcastle, remember what it was like before, when there was very little dialogue between fans and club, and this love and this connection wasn't there. But this is part of Newcastle United now, and it has to say, doesn't it, this link between club and fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, firstly, a big thank you to everybody who's shown up here in the cold and sat to come tonight. Also, the people who are online and are watching this. The questions that come in, I mean, this is exactly what we want going forward, this two-way dialogue, because ultimately, this is, as we spoke about, this is a fantastic football club. There's great potential. I think, in terms of ownership, team involved here, all of the staff at Newcastle United, we're all working and striving to get. I mean, we're fortunate. We're in a business that ultimately is about creating memories and creating special occasions. I think we're on the line. The dream is to get that trophy, to think about that parade when we bring that trophy in. So every decision we're making is in collaboration with the supporters. Now, there'll be tough decisions in this process, both on the pitch and off the pitch, but they're always making that goal that we want to make this football club an even greater club and one of the top clubs in the world. And that's what we intend to do. But we can only do that through having this dialogue, taking the feedback, and listening to this ball. That's what we're always doing.
Well, thank all of you for coming to speak to us tonight. I think some of you, or you might be sticking around for a little bit. You talked about easing the PSR concerns by going to the bar or to some of the food outlets that are open. And we're here all night, open until 12. So I suppose if you want to say hello or get pictures or ask any further questions, then feel free to do so. And you can also stay for the football quiz as well, which will start in an hour. It'll be a good examination of your knowledge. I think you'll do rather well. I'm sure you will. I'm going to thank them all individually. I think they all deserve a round of applause individually. So, firstly, Chief Commercial Officer Peter Silverstone. Chief Financial Officer Simon Capper. Ryan Gurley, Chief Operating Officer of Newcastle United. Becoming Sporting Director Paul Mitchell. And let's hear it once again for the Newcastle United CEO, Darren Eales.